Hello, subjectscribers. Feeling a bit powerless today? Are you out there on your own, feeling lonely and so cold? Your job's a joke, you're broke, your love life's DOA? I mean, whatever happened to predictability, the milkman, the paperboy, and evening TV? You miss your old familiar friends, and when your teacher pops a test, you know you're in a mess, and your dog ate all your...
Sorry, why all the 90s sitcom theme songs?
Getting to it, Pipkin. Getting to it. Anyway, subjectscribers, I, Arthur, despite being a mythical king, can understand somewhat. Can I be vulnerable with you for a moment?
Sure. I'm still not sure with...
No, not with you, Pipkin. With my subjectscribers. Listen, I was once just like you. An ordinary schmo, as you say, down on his luck and without a friend in the world. Completely pathetic 98-pound weakling who regularly got the sand kicked in my face by my brother despite the fact that I was the rightful king. You see, nobody knew how great I was, if you can believe it. But someone came along to help me. He tutored me, turned me into a bunch of animals for some reason, maybe to fill time, and then, when the time was right, he helped me pull the sword from the stone and become right-wise king of...
You're talking about Merlin?
Blast you, Pipkin! I was building up to that and you ruined it! Well, subjectscribers, it's true. Merlin the magician who made all my youthful dreams come true and helped me take command of my own destiny is back at it. Only this time, he'll go to work for you. He'll be there for you when the rain starts to fall, and where you lead, he will follow. Simply click the link below to donate to my mostly peaceful campaign, and...
Wait, you're saying that if they donate money to help you become king, Merlin will also make them kings?
Yes, in a metaphorical sense. They'll feel more, in control of the things that happen to them, while leaving me to be the literal king, 'cause if there's one thing Merlin's good at, it's doing spells. He turned me into a squirrel this one time, and I broke a lady squirrel's heart, which was sad, and then there was this wizard's duel with a marvelous...
Are you basing all this on Disney's adaptation of The Sword and the Stone?
You know, Pipkin, there are some deep truths in Disney movies for those of us not too proud to look for them there.
Truths like you getting turned into a squirrel?
It was the source of much of my wisdom, and it's why I connect so well with small animals. You called, Marloge? Ah, Sir Points-a-Lot. So glad you could make it. Is it a rare condition this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page? Well, now that you mention it, traditional forms of print media have really suffered in the wake of... What have I told you? That my old friend Merlin the magician could go to work for you. Spells for success at school, success in making money, really just about any type of success. Success in finding that special lady what doesn't hiss at me and roll up into a ball when I'm sharking or out on the pool? Sure, yes, that. You got yourself a deal. We hedgehogs ain't exactly lucky in love. Well, your luck, Sir Points-a-Lot, is about to change. Just click on the link below to upgrade your tier, and I think you'll be surprised at how well life is suddenly working out for you. Ooh.
I'm really not sure you're friends with Merlin, or anyone, for that matter.
Of course I am. I'm King Arthur, he's Merlin. We go together like, beans and toast, chips and pickled eggs. Yes, those things.
But in the oldest British stories we have, Merlin was an entirely separate figure from Arthur. He was a prophet, not a magician. That came later. Merlin Wilt, as he was called, was driven mad by a battle and became a wild man of the woods, huge and hairy and spouting hard-to-interpret prophecies. Not spells, prophecies.
Again, Pipkin, clearly not. You seem to be a bit off today. Nothing to be defensive about, because I have enough brains for the both of us. If you will notice, I am talking about Merlin. You are talking about some guy named Merdin, with the unfortunate last name of Wilt. Sounds like a rather droopy character. A total muppet!
Wilt just means wild. And the guy who changed Merlin's name to Merlin, or Merlinus in Latin, was our old friend, Geoffrey of Monmouth.
Oh, not him again. In what wrote a history of some kids in Brighton?
Almost History of the Kings of Britain, but before he wrote that, he wrote down a ton of Merlin's supposed prophecies. Didn't like the name Merlin, though, because he was writing for a French audience, and mer is the word for poop.
Yes, I suppose it would be harder to take prophecies seriously if the prophet's name is Poopin' Wild. Maybe in human culture, for hedgehogs, the digestive process is as mystical as it is urgent.
Anyway, Geoffrey changed Murden's name to Merlin and attached him to the Arthur myth. He also combined him with another prophetic British figure named Ambrosius.
Well, that's one theory, but maybe Geoffrey just had access to some even older sources that got the myth right and knew Merlin was my most trusted advisor. And how, for just a bit more cash, I'd let him make your Vegas dreams come true. Now, mind you, hedgehog matchmaking can be a very tricky business. Far more dangerous for us males than for the ladies. How many particulars does this poopin' Merlin bloke need to know? Oh, none at all. In fact, the less said the better. Pipkin, this ambidextrous guy you say Merlin was combined with, tell us about him.
Ambrosius. So in Nennius's history that Geoffrey was drawing on, the evil king Vortigern, remember the guy who invited the pagan Saxons to Britain in the first place? Vortigern's having a lot of trouble building a tower that he needs to build because of earthquakes, very local earthquakes. His wise men tell him he'll be successful if only he'll find a child with no father and sprinkle his blood on the foundation.
Bit harsh, that. Not only does Dad leave, but then you get made into mortar.
No, there was no dad in the first place, as in the child was not the product of a union between a man and a woman, or so they thought. They find the boy named Ambrosius, but he tells Vortigern that the earthquakes happen because a white and red dragon are fighting underneath. Sure enough, they find the dragons, and Ambrosius explains that the white and red dragons represent the Saxons and the Britons. Geoffrey just takes this story and makes it happen to Merlin as a boy, explaining that the reason he has no father is because he was sired by an incubus, a demon who takes human form. He's a large baby, hairy, and able to speak from birth. But against all odds, he's good. Geoffrey also writes down Merlin's prophecies, gems like, the Thames will form a moat around the city, and the fame of this feat will penetrate beyond the Alps. The hedgehog will hide his apples there and construct pathways beneath the earth.
How did he know? Now I'm going to have to re-hide all those apples. Blimey, it's like he read my mail. And after that, he helps me draw the sword from the stone, becoming my most trusted advisor.
The sword in the stone doesn't happen here, that's later. And in Geoffrey's history, even though Merlin prophesies about Arthur, he is not Arthur's advisor. He doesn't even know him.
Impossible. Merlin's a close personal friend. I was talking to him only yesterday. Merlin, old man, I said, isn't there anything you can do for my subjectscribers? Well, as a matter of fact, Arthur, he said, just as I helped you become the greatest king of all, I can help them take charge of their own lives. So, there you have it.
Well, technically, Merlin did help Arthur become king by helping him exist. See, Uther Pendragon, Arthur's dad, was in love with the Duke of Cornwall's wife, her name was Igerna, and the Cornwalls invited the king over for a very awkward dinner party where the king confessed his love for her. They went to war over it, the Duke was killed on the front lines, and then Merlin disguised Uther that same day to look like the Duke, and he fooled Igerna and slept with her. And that's how Arthur was conceived.
Well,
Arthur was still legitimate, though, because with the Duke out of the way, King Uther could just marry Igerna. So she became queen by the time King Arthur was born.
Well, that's rather unpleasant, if true. Well, I'm sure it was hard for Merlin to tell right from wrong, being as he had a devil dad.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's an adequate excuse, but this is something Merlin sort of does, starting with Geoffrey and continuing to other authors. Merlin makes prophecies, and then he helps to make the prophecies happen. You see this in later stories, too, even if Merlin changes in other ways.
What was the prophecy that was fulfilling?
After the thing with Vortigern and the red and white dragons, King Uther sees a dragon-shaped comet, or star. It means that Arthur will be born, according to Merlin.
What's up with all the dragons?
I mean, I'm not sure, but it explains the title Pendragon, doesn't it? More generally, though, monsters were seen as omens. You see something strange, like a weird creature or something in the sky, or you hear a strange prophecy, right? And you need to interpret it until you can make sense out of it.
So in Geoffrey's history, according to you, Merlin was a prophet without a dad, or with a devil dad, who foresaw my destiny as greatest king ever and then made it happen?
Yes. And people really liked Merlin as a historical figure. And they believed the prophecies that Geoffrey kind of puts into his mouth. He's just too interesting to stay in the background of the Arthur story. Later authors, especially Robert de Boron in the late 12th and early 13th century, start to bring Merlin in as Arthur's advisor so that he has that mentor role for King Arthur.
Robert de Boron? Are you sure you're not making these names up? Ha!
Pretty sure. Robert de Boron changes Merlin in some interesting ways. First, Merlin is really good at disguise. Remember how he disguised Uther? Well, in Robert de Boron, he disguises himself as well, all the time. Then surprises Arthur, saying, "It's me, Merlin," right? And then prophesies to him about something that's going to happen and tells him what to do before it does happen. The second way is that Robert de Boron decides that the reason Merlin is born at all is that a bunch of devils wanted to sire the Antichrist. However, the woman repents, and Merlin is given a Christian upbringing and baptized, and he becomes a force for good. So in later versions of the myth, he can do all these things and has all this knowledge of the future because he's a redeemed half-devil.
Don't worry, Sir Points-a-Lot and subjectscribers. I can guarantee that my advisor Merlin is not an antichrist. Yeah, I suppose it's hard to be an anti when you're a bloke. Well, that's not quite what I...
In my opinion, it's a brilliant bit of retconning. The would-be antichrist who goes good.
Yes, but some things he does are not so good.
Yeah, he does some shady things, but Merlin really can be a force for good, regardless of his origins. This is comforting to us humans who might be tempted to believe they're just too warped to accomplish good in the world. Meanwhile, the trick on Ingerno weirdly echoes what Merlin's demon father did to his own mother. Medieval authors don't really call it evil. They tend to justify it by the outcome. But does the end really justify the means?
In this case, yes, because the end was me.
But however good Arthur is, his kingdom doesn't last. The Britons do lose their fight against the Saxons. We can say that the ends justify the means all we like, but the ends are never really the end. And we're left with the choices we've made in service of pretty temporary outcomes in the grand scheme of things.
Unless you're Merlin, who lives life backward.
Well, the whole living life backwards thing, that's a still later addition to the myth, made in the 20th century by T.H. White. He wrote The Once and Future King and The Sword and the Stone. But 700 years before that, in a 13th century work called The Suite du Merlin, we get Merlin's death, or at least his end. He falls in love with a woman named Vivian, or Ninian, also called the Lady of the Lake, and teaches her his magical arts. She then uses those same arts to bury him alive underground. And the interesting thing is that Merlin foresees this as well, but he does it anyway, because he's in love with her. It's fascinating to me that a prophet who tricked Arthur's mother into conceiving him is himself tricked by love, even though he knows he will be.
Kissy jogs ain't the only ones unlucky in love. Well, I don't believe it. It seems to me that the reason Merlin let everyone think he was tricked was because he knew that he needed to help me here in the 21st century. And you as well, subjectscribers. So he went into a sort of hibernation and now he's back. Nothing like a good hibernation. Cleanses the mind. Who doesn't have love problems from time to time after all? The greatest thing about Merlin is that, yes, he'll help you, but he won't be all judgy about it. He's made mistakes too.
He tends to be pretty judgy about things, actually.
Well, I guess that's a trait all teachers have.
Touché.
Next time, subjectscribers, I'll introduce you to a few more of my Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah, and if you thought Merlin and Arthur had some difficulties in love, just wait till you meet Lancelot, Yvain, and Percival.
There's that judginess again, Pipkin. Try to rein that in. Lighters.